What if I told you that every time you debug your computer, you're honoring a brilliant woman who literally found a bug, an actual insect, stuck inside a room-sized machine? By the end of this video, you'll discover how a Navy Admiral's sense of humor and problem-solving genius gave us the most famous word in tech history. It's September 9th, 1947, at Harvard University. In a room the size of a small house, a massive machine called the Harvard Mark II computer hums, clicks, and whirs away. But today, something's wrong. The 25-ton computer is spitting out errors, and nobody can figure out why. Enter Grace Hopper, a brilliant mathematician, U.S. Navy officer, and one of the world's first computer programmers. She's about to make a discovery that will change the way we talk about technology forever. But first, let me tell you about this incredible woman. Grace Hopper wasn't your typical 1940s lady. Born in 1906, she was the kind of kid who took apart 7 alarm clocks to see how they worked, much to her mother's horror. By the age of 28, she had earned a PhD in mathematics from Yale University and was teaching at Vassar College. But when World War II broke out, Grace did something extraordinary. She joined the Navy. At 34, she was told she was too old and too small for military service. Grace's response? She persisted until they let her in. That's the kind of woman we're dealing with here. The Navy assigned her to work on secret computing projects at Harvard. These weren't the computers you know. They filled entire rooms and used thousands of electromagnetic relays that clicked and clacked like mechanical typewriters. So there's Grace on that September afternoon, staring at a malfunctioning Mark II computer. This machine was cutting-edge technology. It could do multiplication in less than a second, which was lightning fast for 1947. But today, it was giving them nothing but trouble. The calculations were wrong, and the outputs were garbage. Something was definitely broken, but what? Now remember, this is 1947. No error messages appear, such as 404 not found, or the blue screen of death. When something went wrong with these early computers, you had to hunt through thousands of components to find the problem physically. Grace and her team began the painstaking process of checking every relay, every connection, every component in this room-sized machine. Then, at exactly 3:45 p.m., they found it. Stuck between the contacts of relay number 70 in panel F was the culprit, a moth. A real honest-to-goodness moth had flown into the computer, gotten trapped between the electrical contacts, and was preventing the relay from working correctly. Now here's where Grace's personality shines through. Instead of just removing the moth and moving on, she did something that would make this moment legendary. She carefully extracted the moth with a pair of tweezers, taped it into the computer's logbook, and wrote, "Relay number 70, panel F, moth in relay. First actual case of bug being found." Look at that handwriting. Look at that precision. This woman turned a maintenance issue into a piece of history with her sense of humor and attention to detail. Now, here's what makes this even more brilliant. Grace knew that engineers had been using the word bug to describe mechanical problems for decades. Thomas Edison himself used the term as early as 1878. Grace saw the perfect opportunity for a joke. Here was an actual bug causing an actual problem in a computer. The irony was too good to pass up. That simple act of humor and documentation gave us one of the most enduring terms in technology. Every time a programmer talks about debugging code, they're unknowingly honoring Grace Hopper's wit. Here's what's really remarkable. Grace didn't just find the bug, she fixed the computer. After removing the moth, the Mark II worked perfectly again. Problem solved, history made. And Grace? She went on to become one of the most influential computer scientists in history. She invented the first compiler, helped develop the COBOL programming language, and eventually became a Rear Admiral in the Navy. That moth, yes, the actual moth, is now preserved in the Smithsonian Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. It's probably the most famous insect in the history of technology. Grace's real legacy isn't just a funny story about a bug. She fundamentally changed how we think about computing. She believed computers should be accessible to everyone, not just mathematicians and engineers. She once said, "Humans are allergic to change. They love to say, 'We've always done it this way.' I try to fight that." That's why she kept a clock on her wall that ran backwards, to remind people that there's always another way to think about things. Grace Hopper proved that brilliance comes in many forms. Sometimes it's solving complex mathematical equations, and sometimes it's having the wisdom to tape a moth into a logbook and turn a frustrating day into a teachable moment. Every single day, millions of programmers around the world debug their code. They're looking for errors, fixing problems, and making things work better. None of them probably thinks about Grace Hopper when they do it. Still, they're carrying on her tradition, the idea that every problem has a solution, every error can be fixed, and sometimes the best way to handle frustration is with a good sense of humor. From smartphones to social media, from video games to space exploration, every piece of software you use has been debugged using processes that can trace their roots back to that afternoon in September 1947. What I love most about Grace Hopper's story is how human it is. Here's this brilliant woman, this pioneering computer scientist, this naval officer, and she takes time to make a joke, to document a funny moment, to find humor in frustration. She reminded us that behind every technological breakthrough, real people are solving real problems, one bug at a time. What problem in your life might need a fresh perspective and a sense of humor to solve? The next time your computer acts up and you need to debug it, take a moment to remember Grace Hopper, the woman who found the first computer bug and gave us the language we still use today. If this story inspired you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever found your own moth in the machine? A silly, simple solution to a complex problem? And if you're hungry for more incredible stories about the women who shaped our modern world, History Sparks has fantastic tales waiting for you. We're constantly uncovering these remarkable moments where brilliant people turned everyday challenges into lasting legacies. Make sure to subscribe to the History Sparks community and hit that notification bell, because every innovation has a human story, and every story connects us to the incredible people who built the world we live in today. History Sparks channel branding with tech elements.